Hi, I'm your host Kelly Bowen, and you are listening to the Lifestyle Finance Australia show, which is dedicated to creating greater awareness about the power of leveraging finance when it comes to accelerating your growth and personal development. And we celebrate the hundreds of coaches, thought leaders, and game changers we support. This is a platform where you can meet some of the world's best experts in online business, trauma healing, digital marketing, relationship coaching, abundance and wealth creation, spiritual ascension, body healing, and wellness. So if you're looking for your next coach, healer, or mentor to take you on the next step in your journey, this is the show for you. Let's play. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of the Lifestyle Finance Show. Today, I have a very dear friend, long-term friend with me, and an incredible kinesiologist, quantum coach, and energy therapist. Tanya and I go way, way back, but more recently we've been working together because she has become the Lifestyle Finance team kinesiologist. And for those of you that don't understand the modality of kinesiology, we have an absolute treat in store for you. And I remember when I first heard about it, it was one of my friends. He'd recently won this show. I think it was like Drag Queen of the Desert or something. And he'd won this show, like this $250,000 like prize winning that was to like accelerate his career. And I was like so excited for him. And I was like, how did you do it? And he mentioned this thing to me called kinesiology. And he's like, I really attribute a lot of me achieving this to kinesiology. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And this is probably going back, I don't know, it'd be 15 years ago. And I was like, I need to know what this thing is. And anyway, so I started to explore it myself. And since then, I would say I've very consistently been seeing a kinesiologist over the last 7 years, like religiously, monthly, to help really align myself with my goals and really eliminate those self-sabotaging patterns. And I would definitely put it down to one of the most powerful modalities that I've ever experienced, which is why I now have the beautiful Tanya Cripps as our team kinesiologist that helps us with that 2% refinement to keep our team performing at such high levels. And she has been phenomenal at it. So I'm so excited to share her with you today. Tanya, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful intro. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. You deserve every bit of it. Even in the few months that we've been doing this and trialing this, the results that I've seen from the team are phenomenal. Not only are they having their best months, I'm having our business partners coming back saying that they've also had their best months because of just how well the team has been performing. And for me, nothing makes my heart happier. And yeah, I just want to take a moment to publicly acknowledge for your contribution towards that as well.
Thank you so much, Han. I really appreciate that.
You're so welcome. So let's just pretend I don't know you and I don't know what kinesiology is. If you were to explain it in your words, what is kinesiology and what are the spaces or who is it that you most love working with?
So kinesiology is a form of stress management modality. It's a way of looking at the body as a whole. So when we have stress in the body, it means that stress can be physical, it can be mental, emotional, it can be spiritual, and it can also be biochemical. So looking at the APP production in the cells, so the stress between the cells. So we use a form of muscle testing to tap into the subconscious and the unconscious body to find out where the priority stress is. And then by using that technique, we can find out what your body actually needs to shift it or release it. So we're looking for like a frequency match within the body.
Amazing. I love that you mentioned in there like ATP within cells. So my understanding of ATP, these are the energy centers in your cell. So when you're dealing at that level, like this is creating such fundamental change on the most cellular structural level. And the other thing that I love too, like with the muscle testing being that it's through the body doesn't lie. Like there's been so many times where I've gone into a kinesiology session being so certain that I'm aligned with something and my body's just like, nah. and then and then we take the journey onto like, where is that coming from? Which part of my childhood is not in alignment with this? And how do we get all aspects online? Because even if there's like that, you might be 95% aligned with the goal, but if there's just that 5% out, you will find all sorts of creative ways to self-sabotage yourself or slow yourself down or whatever it is that you do. So talk to me a little bit more about like the space that you love working with. So who is it? Like what kind of clients do you really love working with the most?
So there's a few areas. I really love teaching people about nervous system regulation and the difference between defense mechanisms and personality traits. It's really common for people to think, oh, I'm just an anxious person, or I'm really reactive. And when you peel that back, sorry, my cat is trying to get in.
Animals are very welcome on this show.
When you peel that back and teach them that it's actually a defense mechanism that you're operating from, that's not who you are. So when we take them out of survival mode and like reduce that stress or clear that stress, it's like all of a sudden they're like, who am I? Like, what do I've got all this time, I've got all this freedom, I've got all this understanding, like life feels easier. So that's one area. Another area is working with mums. There is so much, I think, power that comes with working with mums. So, working with mum guilt, working with hormones, working with emotional regulation, just empowering mums even to feel like they have a different choice, or that they can make a different choice. Like mums are running on no sleep, high intensity distractions 24/7, overstimulated, and we're just constantly expected to perform, like, are you a mum? You need to be going back to work, you need to be doing this, you need to be perfect, da 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 da. So breaking that down for mums and showing them that they've got other options, like when we start to self-nurture and look after ourselves first, that flows onto your kids, that flows onto your partner, that flows onto every other area of your life, but you need to come first. So that's another area that I love. And then obviously working with high performing teams such as Lifestyle Finance, having those goals and really helping clear any self-sabotaging that's going on to achieving those goals is massive. It's really, really rewarding because you watch them have those aha moments and they're so open to, wanting to clear stuff and understand the mechanics behind what's going on for them. So it's really empowering for them as well, I think, and it's rewarding for me.
Yeah, look, just from my own experience watching my team thrive, they've never done kinesiology before, and I can't believe I haven't thought to like bring it into what we do, because usually we have our team meeting and we do like the structural stuff, we talk about systems and what's going on within lending, and then there's this part of like, okay, where are we getting in the way of our own results? And it's been so good being able to just hand that list over to you and be like, away you go, and like watching it shift. Like I've had some of our team members have been getting like flowers and champagne this month. It's been amazing, like just watching these like just little bits that when you're present to it, how much you catch. So
Yeah.
gosh, it's such a powerful modality. And I love what you're talking there about the mums and like the self nurture, because isn't that really just the essence of motherhood?
Oh,
This whole nurture piece.
absolutely. And I think it, like, everything really does start with the mother. If you want a generation of well integrated, well regulated kids or people or adults, it's got to start with the mum. It's got to start with leading by example. And if she's got space to regulate her emotions, understand herself, look after herself, feel supported to be able to support others, then it's got that knock-on flow. You've got kids that are regulated, you've got partners that feel loved and can support and feel supported as well. Like it's just a knock-on effect. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's magic. So tell me a little bit, like, how did you get into the kinesiology space? Because I know that you've done a lot of things that have sort of led you here. Can you talk to me a little bit about like what your journey has been until you found this particular modality and you went, this is the one for me. This is how I want to serve.
Well, yeah, this is a funny story. I had before I started kinesiology, I had a friend's mum who actually took me to see a kinesiologist. She was like, at the time I was very lost, smoking a lot of weed, doing a lot of drugs, partying, all that sort of stuff. I was just really lost. And she took me to see this woman, and she didn't tell me what it was called. She didn't say, all I knew was that she was the healer's healer. So all healers would go to see this woman. She was like the bee's knees. And so I went and saw her, and I was so nervous, and I didn't know what to say or what to think or what to expect. And I laid on the table, and she worked her magic, and I felt like it just reminded me of that ad of health insurance ad where they're slapping the fish over the and I was like waiting. pull out some fish or something. I was like, what is this? What is this?
Oh, that's gold. I haven't seen that ad, but I want to see it now.
Oh, it's a health insurance ad where they're talking about natural therapies, and there's just this woman who's slapping two fish over this person on a table. Anyway,
Hilarious.
so yeah, I did a couple of sessions, and without really understanding what was going on or what it was, I was in love with it. She was also what's the word where you can read minds?
Telepathic?
Telepathic. So I would be lying on the table and I'd be thinking something, and just after I would think it, she would answer or she'd say it, and then I was like, oh my God, she can read my mind. Don't think anything negative, don't think anything bad. Like, oh, I'm so paranoid. But the shifts that, like, I saw her twice and she changed my entire life. I stopped smoking weed. I changed my life. I just cut out anyone that was not good for me. I started to recognize massive patterns that I was creating. It was like a light bulb just went off, and I just went, holy fuck, what am I doing? Like, this is where it starts, yeah? And it's like I took charge of my life from those two sessions. And then after that, I started studying horticulture. I wanted to be a kinesiologist, but I never felt smart enough. I never felt good enough. I was really in that. So I went off to study horticulture, and the whole time I studied, all I could think was I should be doing kinesiology. That's what I'm meant to be. Like, I love plants. Don't get me wrong. I love plants. Gardening plants, amazing. But my true calling was kinesiology. And so a couple of years after I finished, or maybe it was a year after I finished horticulture, I just went straight into kinesiology, and I just felt it in my bones. It was, I was looking for more answers, and that was exactly what I got, was like deeper answers. It was like a craving in my bones,
Yeah, wow. I love that you say, I didn't think I was smart enough for kinesiology, so I went to horticulture. Have you tried to pronounce half of the botanical names of plants? Like, good fucking luck with that. Not smart enough. Isn't it wild, like, how our brain will have us perceive ourselves? Like, I had the most interesting experience when, like, in my trip to Nepal, and there was two things that really stood out to me that I'm still wrapping my head around. And the first thing was, so here we are, we're in these like incredible mountain ranges, yet we're also kind of in clouds. So the visibility is low, and you can kind of see the other side of the mountain range, but not clearly. You can't see the peaks of the mountain. You can just kind of see, like, there isn't a mountain range opposite you and there's a valley, but you can't really see like fully down into the valley. Anyway, in the morning, sometimes though, if there'd been rain at night in the mornings, then the cloud cover would clear. And then you would just see these incredible mountain ranges around you that were so beautiful, like snow-capped mountains. And I was like, how much of life are we walking through where everything that we want is like right there? The beauty, the magic, the abundance, the love, the health, all of it. It's right there. But the only thing that's having us not see it is our own fog, like our own shit that's having us not see it. But the moment that clears, it's like, oh my God, that was always there for me to enjoy and to experience, to love, to whatever it is. So there was this piece that I've just been sitting with, is like, how much of my own limitations is having me like not see the forest for the trees kind of thing, to not see the mountains for the fog, metaphorically speaking. Then there was this other part that was, one time it did clear, and where the snow-capped mountains were, it was also along the cloud line. So the first day we saw this, we actually thought the snow on the mountains was the cloud line, because we're conditioned to see clouds at that level, not snow-capped mountains. And then the next time, so like, oh my God, hold on a moment. That's not clouds. That's actually like snow-top mountains. They're just that big.
Wow.
Which then had me go, how much of my own conditioning is having me not see something for what it is? My conditioning says at this level, this is clouds. So I visually look at it don't think too much more about it, distort it and go, okay, that looks like clouds, that must be clouds in the sky. Versus looking at it and seeing it for what it is, which is snow-capped mountains.
Wow.
So there's been these two pieces where I'm just like, how much am I not seeing? Like, not allowing myself to see and experience the fullness of my life because of fog that I'm not even aware of. And then how much am I looking at things because of my conditioning, seeing it one way where it's actually something else?
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, I love that. I actually had a very similar thought just this morning about I was repeating some patterns and I knew I was
Mm,
repeating some patterns. And
mm,
then I went, something shifted, something happened this morning, and I went, all my energy perked up again, and I was like, oh my God, it's not that anything is different. It's just literally my perception. Am I looking at it like, oh, this always happens, I always repeat this? Or am I looking at it like, okay, show me, the universe is always showing me another way that it works. The universe is always showing me how things get better. And having that shift in perspective, it was like, yeah, so when you're repeating that pattern, anchoring into knowing that just because you can't see the bigger picture, you can only see what you're in the bubble, which is like this.
yeah. Can you talk to us about how kinesiology can help expand those perspectives?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you are, let's use the nervous system regulation for an example.
Great.
So when you are stressed or when you are operating from a space of like defense or you're reactive or whatever it is. So something might happen and your reaction might be to go into anxiety. And so when you're anxious, you've got your anxious brain on, you've got your anxious helmet on, you are just seeing things in a particular way. You're expecting the worst, you're getting fixated on X, Y, and Z, you're worrying, which I have to say, worry is an illusion. It's a camouflage. It makes you think that you're in control when in actual fact you're just using up like energy that you could be using for other stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start to clear these pathways and get you out of anxiety or out of that stress reaction, then it's like, oh my God, things open up and you start to notice, hang on a second. It's like being in a dark room and then all of a sudden you turn on the light and you're like, oh, there's the front door. There's actually a blind I can open. There's this, there's that. So it's opening, it's taking the blinders off or the blinkers off to help you see what else is around you. Like, and it's not that anything is wrong, it's just that you're, as you said with the being in Nepal, it's your conditioning. Like you're so conditioned to expect X, Y, and Z. Whenever I'm stressed, X, Y, and Z happens. So when we start to clear and disrupt that pattern, it's like, oh, hang on a second. Are you following?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just literally like thinking through some of my own moments where I've had this, and because you do, like sometimes when you've been conditioned to do something a particular way, you get into this space. It's like, well, my choice is I either do this or I don't. And anytime you're in that kind of space, you're in a bind, right? Like that's not a choice. You've got
Yes.
to, it's a this or that. And I've always said, like, if you've got one choice, you're fucked. If you've got two choices, you're still kind of fucked. The only way that you actually have choice is you have three choices. Like you can have three different things. And what I feel like what you're sharing here is that this gives a space for that third alternate option
Yeah.
where you can make a different choice.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's like when you're, you might catch yourself, for example, if we clear some pathways around, when you're feeling stressed and something happens, and it could just be that tiny little thing, like you spill your coffee cup, and you spilling your coffee cup has got nothing to do with anything else that's been going on, but just the spilling of the coffee cup, and you just have this outrageous outburst, and you're like, that's it, stuff you and this, and it's like you just want to burn it all down. Yeah. When we start to clear the pathways, like the neurological pathways in the brain, when we clear those and like look at your neurotransmitters, your neuroreceptors, all that sort of stuff, how everything's working together, it starts to create space. So you might the next day tip something over and you might still feel that internal rage, but there'll be space between it. So it's like, okay, I can see what I'm doing here. It's like it makes you more conscious and more aware of the emotions that are coming up. And then you've got a choice. Am I going to react and still have the outburst? Or am I going to just take a minute, remove myself from the situation, take a few breaths, and then come back to it and address it in a way that feels more suited to me or more fitting?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so much power in that. Now, we've mentioned a couple of times, like we're kind of touching on like some nervous system stuff, some emotions, and I know people can be a little bit like, "Ooh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have like feelings." Or like, "Ooh, I'm allergic to them," and they're uncomfortable. And can you talk to us a little bit about like how gentle this modality is? Because it's one of my favorite things about it, and it's not necessarily like go back and feel the feelings. Like sometimes they do come out later, and sometimes they're, but it's not like it's not therapy, it is not coaching, it is something else entirely different. So can you share with us a little bit about like how this is so different and why it's so profound?
So I love this question because kinesiology is not talk therapy. It's not a case of you sitting there and telling me all your stories and your feelings and, you know, what you've suppressed and what your mum did and all that sort of stuff. Yes, things come up in the session, but it's about working with the subconscious and the unconscious body. So it's programs that you aren't even aware that are running. It's pain and emotions that are stored in the body that you're not even aware of. So by tapping into, and the way that I work, every kinesiologist is different. You know, we're kind of like a fingerprint. We all work in our own individual way. So no two kinesiologists will ever work the same. And that's perfect. Yeah, that it's a perfect fit for everyone. But the way that I work is a technique called NK, so neuroenergetic kinesiology, sorry. So we use acupressure points to access particular parts of the body. So it's very, very deep and it's very, very specific. It's the difference between saying your suburb and then saying your actual exact address. So when I am clearing stress in the body, you don't have to be sitting there feeling all your feelings. You can just sit there and just go with it. It's a case of you laying on the table or even online and just feeling and being present with what's coming up for you. You may have random memories come up, you may have random thoughts come up, things, you know, all sorts of stuff. It's just about staying open to the process. And what I do encourage is that when clients do have emotions come up, because they absolutely do, you know, especially if you've been holding on to something for 20, 30, 40 years, all of a sudden we're clearing a stress. Sometimes stuff does come up, but it's about teaching clients that the most powerful thing you can do is lean into that uncomfortable feeling, because emotions are just energy in motion. So when you are, you know, we're constantly feeling emotions, right? All day, every day, we're feeling emotions, we're feeling energy, it's flowing through us. When you decide that something is painful or something is like an ouchie, what happens is energetically it hits us, but we're taught from a young age to close around that pain. So what happens is that painful memory, that painful experience, that painful emotion gets stored in the body. It just stays there, yeah? And then we go around spending the next 20 or 30 years going, "Ooh, don't touch that, don't touch that." Like that's an ouchie, leave it alone. But if you can, and it's not always easy, but if you can stay open and feel what you're feeling and let it move through you, you'll still feel the pain, but you're only going to feel it for a second, a minute max, and then it's on to the next thing. Yeah, it just doesn't stay in you. And that's how we regulate and process our emotions rather than closing around it. So I'll give you an example. I had a client who had a session with me, and she was talking about money and how stressful money has been, and, you know, talking about money with her partner is always really uncomfortable. And I explained this that concept to her, that okay, when you have this conversation with your partner, I want you to, as much as you can, when you start to feel like you're closing around the conversation, you're closing yourself up, stay open, just breathe into it, stay open, lean into it, and just feel it, acknowledge it, feel it, and watch it go through you. And so she sent me a message later that night and she said, "Oh my God, that was the most incredible conversation I have ever had with my partner." She said, "We were having the conversation. Things started to get a bit heated. I noticed that I put my hoodie over my head. I could feel my shoulders curling in and I wanted to hide." She said, "So once I acknowledged that or realized that that's what I was doing, she's like, I stood up, I took my hood off, I put my shoulders back, I breathed through it, and I just went for it. And we had this huge open-hearted conversation, and it was amazing. She's like, we were just two adults having a really beautiful, really mature conversation about money and finances and stress and things that are hard for her and hard for him. And, you know, they came to a beautiful understanding, and it was incredible. She's like, I can't believe how easy that is. And like, that was the perfect example. It's, you know, it's feeling your feelings, but it's not feeling your feelings like you need to go down the rabbit hole and re-traumatize yourself and, you know, go into the whole story behind it. It's seeing it for what it is, feeling it, and then letting it go, letting it move through you. It's just an emotion. There's no such thing as bad emotions or good emotions. It's just an emotion. It's just energy. So when you can understand that and see the gifts that it has for each thing, that's where the power is.
Yeah, 100%. Like I love that there's a couple of things in there that I really love. One, that you said that kinesiologists are like fingerprints. No two are the same. And it's so true, because I've seen many different kinesiologists over the years. And there's one, my regular one that I see, and the way that he works, I have learned to track my own physiological and emotional responses to like to stimuli. Like, does that make sense? So let's just say an event comes in, it happens, and I have a reaction to it. I literally know as soon as I lie down on his table and he starts, my body is like, okay, X happened, I behave, blah, blah, blah. That's not how I want to be responding to this situation. And he's like, okay, cool, let's trace this back. And I can usually find, I know if I'm experiencing a biochemical reaction, like whether I've got adrenaline and cortisol increasing, testosterone dropping, oxytocin dropping. Like, I've been through this process with him so much now, and being able to track these experiences in my body, that I've become so intimately acquainted with what is happening inside my body if there's a biochemical reaction. Then when we start going through the emotions, like as in exactly how each stage of emotion through my different chakras that I go through as my body shuts down into that survival response, and then to release it from somewhere within my childhood. And it's been such a gift. Like, I definitely didn't start going to kinesiology thinking that I was going to get to know myself on such an intimate level, because I just been through the process with him so many times. Now I know like how deeply on a survival level I'm responding to stimuli. And it's not often now I'll get the biochemical response, like the fight, flight, freeze response, along with an emotional shutdown. But when I do, like, I can feel it. And it's been so cool in knowing how to track that. But then also then when I work with you, I've got this completely other different experience that I also love, that has been like profoundly changing as well. Because I know there's been a couple of things that we've worked on, and within a couple of sessions, like, oh, cool, it's clear, but they're totally different. And I really love that you put that out there, because it's, when you're working with a kinesiologist, you need to find somebody that fits with you, and
Yes.
because that's who you're going to get the best results from.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Sorry.
yeah, and no, oh good. And depending upon what you're like wanting to experience too, like find out a little, like some kinesiologists love to geek out on nervous system like you do. I love when you go into neurotransmitters and go right down that rabbit hole. It's like, it's so my jam. My other kinesiologist, the ones that I regularly see, he is more sport specific and gut health specific. So like, it's just finding the one for like where you want to go.
Yeah.
I really love that you mentioned that. The other piece in there too, I liked how you spoke about the feeling, the emotions, because this is the other thing that I've noticed to be profoundly different with kinesiology than any other modality, is that as you mentioned how you had that client lean in and fill that space and have this completely third different option where she could have such a radical different experience around money with her partner, because it's such a point of contention within relationships. Like, a lot of disharmony can come from money. So being that she had this third option available to her is so amazing. But even the process of feeling the emotion, because I've done both. I've done the like, let's really activate it and feel it, and sometimes that can be more traumatizing to the system than not, versus with kinesiology, where I've had myself experiencing feelings. There might be an external event, just like you were mentioning with your client, where I have this opportunity to step through it. I feel it, but it's not at this intensity, like this bad smell of emotion that hangs around for days. It's
Yeah.
quick and moves through, and I really love that about kinesiology.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's something that's not taught enough. I think this next generation of kids have got it really good in the sense that all of us doing this work and learning how to regulate our systems and stuff, it's going to be a knock-on flow, especially for kids. But yeah, it's something that I don't know about you, but I've definitely had to learn and learn and learn again, like how to recognize your feelings, how to feel your feelings, how to move through it and make it not like the be all and end all. It doesn't need to be this massive drama and this huge story and woe is me. It's like, no, this is just an emotion, and it's only me that's putting all this emphasis or power onto that particular emotion. So when I take my power back and I stand in my sovereignty, okay, it's an emotion. Like, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to feel it? Am I going to squash it down? Or am I going to avoid it? Like, I know which one I would rather do now. I know which one I used to do. So
Now, there's something that you do that I haven't seen a lot of kinesiologists do, and you do it better than I've seen all kinesiologists do, and that's work online with clients. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because I know this is a modality where people would typically go and like be in the room with somebody, whereas you can get the same results working online. Can you talk to me like how you ended up in the online space as well, and like some of the differences there? Because I love the fact that if I've got something going on and I just want to have like a quick session, I can call you. I don't even have to leave my home and we can get it done.
yes, I'm glad you brought this up because I love working online so much. I just feel like it opens the door for so many more people to have access to this service. So when I finished studying, it was literally, I think the day before we went into lockdown, I'd actually just finished my last class in kinesiology. And as all this sort of hell was happening, we were going into lockdown, I really just thought, well, what else am I going to do? I may as well just I'll just start my business and I'll just start doing kinesiology online. Like, you're taught how to surrogate for people when you're studying kinesiology. So we're taught that you can work with anyone in the world. So I just sort of went, well, if I can surrogate for others and you're taught like you can use a teddy bear or a pillow or whatever, I just thought, well, I'll just use myself and I'll just start working on myself. And from there, it just came so natural and it was so easy, and clients were still having huge shifts and huge revelations, and it was helping so much. And it was just something that I really I just stuck with because it just feels so easy. And when you're working in the quantum, like there's quantum entanglement, so we're connected to everybody, and it's just about having that intention and tapping into that it just works. It's amazing. I don't know how else to describe it, really.
Yeah, so for those of you that are like, surrogate, what's a surrogate? How would you explain surrogate?
So a surrogate is when you have a person step in for somebody else. So, for example, when I'm working on little kids, and obviously children can't always stay still, or maybe they're too little to be worked on, they don't really understand. You can have a parent step in and be the child. So you're using your body to work on with the intention of working on that child. So they would say, my name is such and such, my birthday is such and such, and I was born here. And whatever you need to do to set that intention for that person to take the energetic body of said child or person or whatever. I just want to put a disclaimer out there that I would never work on somebody without the permission of that person. I'm big in that. It's just like when you go for a psychic reading and someone wants to find out information about somebody else. It's like, I don't work in that regard. If I have permission and, or if it's a parent, that's okay, but I would never work on somebody's energetic system without their permission. But yeah, essentially that's what you do. They will surrogate and you can work on that person. And quite often you will notice that when you are being the surrogate, you'll feel things that are different in your body. You might feel pain, or you might feel the emotions that they're like feeling. You'll feel all sorts of different stuff. So it's a beautiful, beautiful technique.
Yeah, I love seeing you do it too. You're brilliant at it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, like, let's just say some of our listeners like, wow, this sounds really cool. I'd love to try this out. What would be the best way for them to get in contact with you?
So you can reach me on Instagram, and my name at Instagram is Tanya __ Cripps. So that's TANYA _ C for cat, R for rabbit, I for ice, P for Peter, P for Peter, S for Sam. It's just a habit to do it that way. So
Yep,
you can
great.
send there. And also I've got like a booking link and stuff there. And you can check me out on my website as well, which is www.tanyacripps.com.au. I always forget the AU.
Amazing. And I'm also going to have, as always, for our listeners, I'm going to have these links everywhere. They'll be on the social posts. They will be like on YouTube, Spotify. I was going to say they will be on Instagram, but that's not the word I was after. iTunes, it'll all be there. So if you're looking for Tanya, you can find it there. Worst case scenario, send me a DM and I will definitely connect you with this incredible human. And now you've got a special gift for our listeners too, don't you, Tanya?
Yes, I do. So I'm offering a free masterclass into, it's going to be an intro into kinesiology and the way that I work. So I'll go deep on what kinesiology is, the benefits to using it, how I work in the quantum as well with kinesiology. And then I'm actually going to do a demo. So this isn't me giving you a full session, but I'm going to go into reading some of your blockages and just get it so you have a better understanding and a good feel for what it's like to work with me online as well. And of course, there's going to be questions and stuff as well. So join me for there. It'll be lots of fun. I'm really excited.
That's so sexy. And the link for this will also be, it'll be on all the social posts, on all the podcast platforms as well. So it's definitely something you want to take advantage of. Now, if they miss it, can they get a recording of it or is it you have to be there?
No, absolutely. Jump on. As long as you register, then I can send out the recording, like the replay after. No problem at all.
Amazing. Well, Tanya, it has been a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show. I'm so excited that I've been able to share you with our platform because I know how powerful your work is. And I really hope that if any of our listeners feel resonant with this, that they reach out to you because you're amazing at what you do. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, love. Thanks for having me. I really love you. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And for all of our beautiful listeners, if there's something here that's resonated, whether it's something for yourself or whether you have a friend, family member that you think could really benefit from hearing this episode, please tag them, share. We're not a paid show. How we get around is by you sharing the love. I love you and see you on the next episode. Mwah! Thank you for listening to the Lifestyle Finance Show. If you loved this interview, please feel free to share it because if it made a difference to you, it will absolutely make a difference to others. And if you are a coach, healer, or mentor, and you'd like to explore getting finance set up for your business so you can get paid in full from day one and financially support your clients in a far greater capacity than just your in-house payment plan, head over to my website, www.lifestylefinanceco.com, and follow the prompts so we can explore this further. Big love, beautiful soul, and thanks for the support.